Hello, I'm Melissa with Sentimental Salvage and Design in Murnum, Alberta, Canada. Today, I'm going to be showing you Furniture Painting 101. So this tutorial is to right from the beginning through to finish. So what I'm going to be doing is I have two of these end tables. They're solid wood. They're both exactly the same. They're in pretty good shape. And I thought they would be the perfect project to show you guys how I paint a piece of furniture right from the beginning to the end. These have been washed already with just soap and water. I use Blue Dawn. You don't have to use Blue Dawn. You can use whatever you want. Just a mild detergent and water. And then I'm going to go over it. I use this crud cutter. I get it at Home Depot. It is not in the cleaning section. This kind of threw me for a loop when I was looking for it the first time too. It's in the where paint thinners and that kind of stuff is. I don't know why, but you can get it in these spray bottles, and then you can get it in the big refill, the jugs to refill this. This works really good. Gets rid of all of the goo and stuff. With the crud cutter, you're just going to spray it on and just wipe it. Give it a good scrub. You see any spots that will need some extra attention. Don't forget, I've washed this once already, just with mild detergent and water, just a dish soap and water. And just clean the whole piece. This cleaning is the most important step, because if you leave any dirt or grime or oils or anything like that on your piece, whether it's a piece of furniture or cabinets or even the little smalls, if you're wanting to paint some smalls, that will bleed through your paint, any paint. It doesn't matter what kind of paint you're using. If it's not clean, it's going to come back and haunt you. And there's no amount of layers of paint that's going to hide that. You have to put a sealer like a shellac on that to cover it. Okay, so we're ready for paint. I'm going to be using DIY paint in Tarnished Pearl. It's just an off-white. It's a beautiful off-white color. And I use Paint Pixie brushes. This is the number 12, so this is the big oval. And then this one, this is the little D. So it's really good. It's a thin brush. And it's got these long, soft bristles, and it works really, really good for flat surfaces or if you're doing any blending. We're not doing blending today, but all right. So we're ready to go. So like I said, I'm using the number 12, and I'm only using one color, so I'm going to go right out of the jar. Grab your paint. I like to go with the grain. I'm not going for a lot of texture on this piece, so I'm just going to start painting. And you can see how good the coverage is. Isn't that awesome? If you're not familiar with DIY paint, if you check out my website, sentimentalsalvage.ca, you will see I have a bunch of information on there, and if you go to the how-to tab, there's all kinds of tips and tricks. It's a clay-based paint, and it is amazing. dries really fast, so you don't want to overbrush. Because if you overbrush, your wet paint will start pulling off your dry paint. I'll show you more of that, what I mean by that, when we do our second coat. Okay, so we have the first coat on both of these end tables, and now we're going to let them dry completely, and then we'll go back and we'll do a touch-up coat and kind of a second coat. We'll call it a second coat on both of them, and then we'll get to waxing and using Big Top, our clear coat, and you can see how those work. Okay, so this is dry now, and I'm going to do my second coat. And this time I'm going to be using a water bottle and this brush. Water bottle and the little D paint pixie. My apologies for the wiggle. I didn't realize the table holding my tripod was smushed up against the table I was working on. Mist the surface so it's wet but not soaking, then apply the paint. This helps use less paint and gives a smoother finish. DIY paint is clay-based. It's very thick and highly pigmented. You'll find that using a mister bottle is the secret ingredient to many finishes. Try to remember to go back and check your edges for any drips or ridges that have formed. It's easier to wipe these off with your brush now than once they're dry. After 2 coats of DIY paint, you can see how good the coverage is. Here you can see that I'm grabbing the edge by just going up on a diagonal from the bottom up. This ensures you get smooth coverage on your edges without messing up the top that you just worked so hard on. Finish off your second coat by going over the entire piece, using your water bottle when necessary. Here I'm going to purposely overbrush this spot to show you what happens when you reactivate that first coat. The more you brush, the more of that wood you're going to see beneath your first paint layer. With fresh paint on my brush and not pushing too hard, I'm just going to get it into the corner and draw it back. Just one stroke and it's fixed. Okay, so both coats are done now, and I just wanted to make a point of saying that if you're planning on distressing your piece, don't be too particular about getting a full second coat on. If you have a little bit of the wood showing through on corners and edges, that's fine because you're just going to do that anyways. So don't stress out about the full coverage. We're gonna let these dry and then we will come back and we will distress and then we will wax and then we will also use a Big Top clear coat for the tops. I like to put Big Top on the tops, so stay tuned. Okay, the second coat is complete on both of these end tables. So far we have used DIY paint in Tarnished Pearl. It's a beautiful off-white color. And we have used Paint Pixie brushes. For the second coat I used the little D. Fits perfectly in these jars. And even the little 8-ounce jars. Works awesome. And a water bottle. Nothing complicated, just simple one color application on these 2 wooden end tables. We're going to come back and we're going to do some distressing and we're going to wet distress. So I'll show you how to do that and then we are going to wax and clear coat. 2 different applications, both just as easy. It just depends on your preference on which one you would prefer to use. All right, so we're back. And now I have a little pail with some water in it, just clean water, and a microfiber cloth. It can be any kind of a cloth. These specific ones, this one's got some stains from past jobs. I get these for you Canadians, I get them at Canadian Tire. There's a package of, I want to say there's about 15 in a package and they're all different colors and they're perfect. I just wash them in the washing machine with no fabric softener so there's nothing extra on it. And yeah, I use them over and over and over again. I think they're under $20 for a package. So anyways, enough about the cloth. So you just want to wring it out, but not a lot, not super dry, just so that it's not dripping. And then if you're using, if you're doing a wet distress on a dark color, I wear gloves just because it gets all in under your nails and everything and it stains. It does wash out after a couple hand washings, but I just prefer not to have, blues are bad. I prefer not to have blue tinged skin, so. And all you're gonna do now to distress I'm going to try to show you right here on this corner. And this is why I said don't be super, super particular about getting your corners and stuff, because you're just going to wipe it off if you're distressing. So you're just going to wipe. And see how that's giving you that nice edge? Just be prepared that once you wet this, you give it a couple seconds and it's going to come off faster. It's like you'll get nothing, and then all of a sudden you get a lot. So see how easy that is? And it gives you a nice natural distress. And the benefit to wet distressing versus using a sanding block, which works perfectly, the dust is like talcum powder. It's very, very fine. It gets everywhere. So when you're working in your house, which you can do because DIY paint, it smells like clay-based paint. But no chemical, there's no VOCs, there's none of the bad, there's none of the yucky. So you can paint right in your living room or in your kitchen or wherever you have room to paint. You don't want the dust all over your house. So at least I don't. So, and I try to, when I do a lot of work here in the workshop. At the store, I don't want to get the dust everywhere so that it ends up on the store side, because it's enough keeping the dust down. So I do a lot of wet distressing here in the store. And this is how easy it is. Super, super easy. And there's no right or wrong way or amount. It's however you want it to look. I want this to be just kind of how it would naturally wear in places. I'm just gonna keep going over it until I get the look that I want. And you'll know when you need to rinse out your cloth, because you'll see that your little distressed spots are kind of cloudy, and then you just kind of lightly go over them and it cleans them up. So same thing here. So this is super, super easy. Distressing is done. We've just got a light distress. So it's just on the edges, nothing crazy, just so they look a little bit worn. And now for the finishing, what I'm going to do is on the tops, I'm going to use Big Top, which is a clear coat, a brush-on clear coat from DIY Paint. And this has a little bit, it's like a satin finish. It's a little bit more of a gloss than you'll get from the wax. And I like using it on the tops. It's a little bit self-leveling, unlike the paint. The paint doesn't self-level at all. So it just gives you a nice smooth, it gives you a nice finish. So we're gonna apply Big Top to the top of this table. And this is a brush-on clear coat, and it's pretty liquidy. It's not thick like the paint. The trick with Big Top is not to overbrush and to put it on not thick, but don't be cheap with it. Just put it on. So I'm just going to dip my brush in. I'll lift this so you can see. I'm just dipping the brush in like that. These brushes will suck up quite a bit. And then I'm just going to brush it on. I use the same diagonal upswipe when applying clear coat as I did when painting. This method ensures you're both cleaning up your edge and applying product without messing up your top. And then for the legs and the skirt, I'm going to be using DIY wax, just to clear. And if you have never used DIY wax before, it's like butter. It's super soft. A little bit goes a long way. So I've got my DIY wax in clear. And when I'm just using a single wax color, single paint color, I just use it right out of the tub. This is a Paint Pixie wax brush. This is the little C. It has a little bulb handle on it. It's the same, it's got the same head, the same bristles as the big one, the one with the long handle. Sarah is what they named her. So you don't need a lot. Just a little bit of wax on your brush. And I just start by brushing it on. And I just brush it on this way initially to apply it, and then to work it in, I'll go in a circular motion to make sure that I'm getting it right into the paint. But my application is always just brush it on. And you don't need very much. Like, this tub is enough to do a whole bunch of furniture. So it doesn't use much. So I'm just going to brush it on the same way all over. Clean, soft cloth, and you just wipe off the excess. This step evens out any thick spots from applying wax with your brush. This is not the buffing step. That comes once your wax is dried. Okay, so now it's down to buffing, and you can either use a soft cloth or the buff brush. This is by Paint Pixie, and this works really, really well if you're doing big pieces. It just saves fingertips, because I find when I'm buffing little pieces like this with a cloth and you're trying to get into all these little spots and you're just bashing your fingertips all the time, it starts to hurt after a while if it's a big piece. So this brush works really, really well. Same method. You're not putting a ton of pressure, you're just buffing. And it brings out a really nice sheen. I don't know if you can see that in that light. And then that's it. That is 2 end tables from start to finish. So we went through cleaning them, the cleaning, prepping, making sure there's no oils, dirt, grime. If you're doing kitchen cupboards, it's probably best to put a shellac sealer on top or underneath your paint. These were in good shape that way. They had a little bit of wear on the top, but they didn't have any oily damaged spots, so it wasn't a concern for me. So I just painted straight over the wood. Your worst enemy is going to be dirt. And another tip, don't sand a dirty piece. all you'll be doing there is grinding the dirt right into your piece. What you want to do is you want to clean it first, let it dry completely, then do any sanding if you have any gouges or scratches that you want to get out of it. It's simple. You clean it, make sure it's clean. You paint it, you distress it if you'd like to distress it, and you do your clear coats, whether that's a paint on clear coat or a wax. Both are options. And it's personal preference. I don't find that one is tougher than the other. I don't find that one is better than the other. It just depends on what you prefer to work with. If you ever plan on, if you know it's a piece that you're going to want to paint again, you know you want it this color for a little while and you change your mind a lot and you want to put a different color on it, then I would suggest not using wax. Removing wax to be able to paint over it again is a bit of a project. You have to use something like mineral spirits. It's just a different animal when it comes to redoing it. But if you use Big Top and any of the patinas, like dark and decrepit liquid patina, or the newer one that's old and gray, it's called, to get your antiquing done or glazing, you can paint right over those. So with no issues. So it just kind of depends what your thoughts are for the future. For those of you who purchased this tutorial, thank you very much. I figured I would do the basics, start to finish, furniture painting 101. For those of you that are too far away to take any of my classes here in store, this is for you. So it's been asked for and I finally got it done. All right, thank you. To purchase the products used in this tutorial, please visit my website at sentimentalsalvage.ca, where you'll find the complete lineup of both DIY and Paint Pixie products. Nationwide shipping is available. Thank you for purchasing this tutorial. If you still find yourself with questions, please don't hesitate to contact me via email, through social media, or call me at the store. All contact information is available at sentimentalsalvage.ca. Thanks again and happy painting!